Hey, welcome to the IM Podcast, where we answer all the questions about spirituality and inner peace that you ever wanted to ask, and where we discover the secrets of humanity and divinity through a better understanding of both. I'm your host, Sean Webb. All right, so last week I had touched on the fact that I had downloaded a book from Audible called Proof of Heaven, a neurosurgeon's journey into the afterlife by Eben Alexander, MD. And I had not yet listened to this book and just wanted to let you know that I downloaded it as part of the little commercial I do at the end of the podcast because Audible supports us when you support them. So very much appreciated if you guys want to go download your free Audible book. And you can get there by going to audibletrial.com/IamSpirituality. But anyway, back to Proof of Heaven. This is a pretty awesomely amazing book. And I say that because it provides us yet another first-person account of what I call the experience of enlightenment and what many other sources call the experience of enlightenment. Now, his story in a nutshell, and he tells it much better than I'm about to tell it now, but basically he came down with a very rare case of bacterial meningitis that attacked his spinal cord and his brain and basically put him into a coma for 7 days. And it's a 1 in 10 million or 10 billion, I can't remember the number, but it's extremely, it's like you almost have to have a brain operation or a back operation to be able to get this. And he got it after being a healthy guy and no operations and it just came out of nowhere. And so really unexplained about how he got sick, but it put him into a coma for 7 days where a lot of his higher brain functions shut down. And I guess they have the EEGs to be able to prove this from a scientific standpoint. So it's not just someone saying, oh, I got sick and then I got well. Look, it's a miracle. No, his story is much more in depth in that he explains an experience of what he perceived to be heaven or something similar to a heavenly state that was beyond mind, beyond body, and into the spiritual, which is one of the things that I talked to you about in the Body, Mind, Spirit 101 episodes, and specifically episode 20 when I talked about my enlightenment experience. It would take years to give you all the details of what I experienced through that. And Eben Alexander also basically mimics the same statements that I was making in his experience when he left his body and became a spiritual existence that no longer identified with his body or who he was. And it's just an amazing story about, the miraculous recovery that, is basically 97% death rate at where he was, and the other 3% he should have woke up and been in a completely vegetative state for the rest of his life with 24-hour nurse care. And the guy's up walking, talking, writing books, living a regular life again after visiting this place deemed, heaven, or that he's calling heaven in the title of his book, but basically it's an enlightenment experience. So it's something that I really want you to pick up and read, whether you do it through Audible or not. You can do it through Amazon. I have Amazon links on my page also if you'd like to make sure that a couple cents go to us. That would be appreciated. But some of the passages in this book are amazing, and he's got a great voice, by the way, to listen to if you're listening to it through Audible. I just want to share a couple of these with you, and you may find these very familiar.
Knowledge was stored without memorization, instantly and for good. It didn't fade like ordinary information does. And to this day, I still possess all of it, much more clearly than I possess the information that I gained over all my years in school. That's not to say that I can get to this knowledge just like that. Because now that I'm back here in the earthly realm, I have to process it through my limited physical body and brain. But it's there. I feel it, laid into my very being. For a person like me who had spent his whole life working hard to accumulate knowledge and understanding the old-fashioned way, the discovery of this more advanced level of learning was, alone, enough to give me food for thought for ages to come.
And that quote I really appreciate because, what I tried to explain previously to you regarding, after an enlightenment experience, you gain basically all the knowledge and intelligence of God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, instantaneously, and you understand it all, and everything, all quizzes, all enigmas, all questions are answered. But then the issue is you have to then come back into this body that has a brain that is limited in its capacity to be able to understand and conceptualize the things that you previously understood. Now, my rock solid proof of catalytic change in my life is that I'm now helping to solve a 4,000-year-old mystery of psychology and forwarding a brand new model of emotional understanding that is being accepted by the world's leading psych PhDs and experts in their field, saying, wow, this is actually pretty accurate on how emotions work, where we didn't have an answer on how they worked before. And that's one of the things that I was able to get my mind wrapped around, one of the things that I understood in the enlightenment experience, that I was able to actually get my mind to figure out and put it down onto paper and put it down into theory and actually create some algorithms that computers will be able to learn to use to become sentient. Okay. Well, what Dr. Alexander's talking about there is basically the same thing. It's being able to understand everything and yet coming back into the body with the limited capacity of the mind and brain to be able to unwrap those things. It's a little difficult sometimes to be able to give everyone the answers to everything. But they're in there. And it's an experience that you have, and it's knowledge and wisdom that you are granted access to through the whole thing. So I thought that was kind of fun. Next one.
The physical side of the universe is as a speck of dust compared to the invisible and spiritual part. In my past view, spiritual wasn't a word that I would have employed during a scientific conversation. Now I believe it is a word that we cannot afford to leave out. From the core.
And that is one of the reasons for this podcast, as a matter of fact. It's one of the things that drives me after my enlightenment experience, is that I saw the tie-in between spirituality and science, and how science and spirituality and science religion are chasing the exact same goal, which is basically the understanding of God, the understanding of everything, the understanding of the universe, which is filled, even the spaces in between the spaces, with life energy. And so I thought that was pretty poignant as well.
We, the spiritual beings currently inhabiting our evolutionarily developed mortal brains and bodies, the product of the earth and the exigencies of the earth, make the real choices. True thought is not the brain's affair. But we have, in part by the brain itself, been so trained to associate our brains with what we think and who we are, that we have lost the ability to realize that we are at all times much more than the physical brains and bodies that do, or should do, our bidding.
And that goes right to the statement that, our mind creates our reality, and our mind creates our sense of self, and our mind is so overwhelmingly overbearing that it tends to, for most of us, for 99.99% of us probably, dictate our sense of self, who we are, what we think about the world, etc. And getting beyond that mind, getting beyond the corporeal, is what's key in being able to realize deeper truth. Okay, next one.
Our truest, deepest self is completely free. It is not crippled or compromised by past actions or concerned with identity or status. It comprehends that it has no need to fear the earthly world, and therefore it has no need to build itself up through fame or wealth or conquest. This is the true spiritual self that all of us are destined someday to recover.
And this goes right to, what we spoke about in episode 2, the true self and the false self. If you're a Christian, you might be a fan of Richard Rohr, Franciscan friar, who speaks of the true self and false self, and I have links on the podcasts in the Body, Mind, Spirit 101 to his recordings, or you can get them on Audible as well. And, this is spontaneous realization, folks. Nobody handed him a bunch of books to be able to say, true self, false self. He was a pretty agnostic or even atheist scientist up until his experience of spiritual awakening that was, arguably scientifically proven to not be an illusion of his mind, because most of his mind was shut down at the time. And he comes to the same realization that the world's sages are preaching and have been preaching for the last 5,000 years, that there is this false existence around us, and that there is a true existence of our spiritual nature that resides below and above and throughout all of the illusion that is the invisible thing that we're not acknowledging, the invisible thing that we can't see, but that is the reality of our existence as humans and as spiritual creatures. And so, I have tons of bookmarks that I could share with you, but that right there is evidence enough, even scientific evidence enough, to say there's a lot to be uncovered and a lot to be discovered regarding this spiritual existence within us. And if you haven't awakened to it yet, and I'm guessing, you probably had small awakenings. If you haven't had that great, huge epiphany of the enlightenment experience, man, we got to get you there, because this type of experience is a life-changing, world-changing happening. I didn't want to use the word experience again, but basically it's a catalytic, revolutionary change in your entire understanding of everything. And we really need to get you there. And I think a good little starting point would be figuring out, what types of things that we're talking about when we're talking about spiritual awakening, which is why we're doing this podcast, and to take in other pieces of media that help explain it. And so I encourage you to go download a Proof of Heaven from Audible, and you can get a free copy, and Dr. Alexander will still get paid. But you can get a free copy by going to audibletrial.com/IamSpirituality. And if you support them, they support us. But definitely go pick this up, because this isn't woo-woo, hokey, fluff, spiritual crap. This is science racing towards the spiritual understanding of our existence, and a real world way for us to get there without having to look through a microscope to do it, and to get the full epiphany, the full entire Satori awakening, and understanding everything that there is to know in the universe and answering all of our spiritual questions. Okay? This is important stuff, because once that happens to you, all your pain and suffering goes away. It doesn't exist anymore. You see the illusion that did create all of your stressful existence previously, and it ceases to exist. It simply does. It dies. It dies off. The bad stuff in you dies off. It's amazing. It's awesome. It's wonderful. And we will get you there someday soon, because this communications technology is awesome. And the more you know how to walk down the path, the easier it's going to be to get to that destination that isn't really a destination. Anyway, hope you guys are having a great week. I will talk to you soon. I have to run because I have a toddler who's going out for the first time trick-or-treating with his friend who's coming over in a little bit. So I got to go get ready for that. I will talk to you soon. Peace.